is the answer to your question. I would say I've tried. I was on the board of an organization called the Journalism and Women Symposium for a couple of years, and it was about trying to encourage and mentor younger women journalists, but also, you know, celebrate and advance and promote the work of women journalists. I think, for me, I mean, in our history, women journalists as late as the 70s, I mean, women at the New York Times and some of the bigger papers brought a suit just in the 70s to get out of what we call the back of the book, what they used to call the back of the book, to the front of the newspaper, meaning out of just writing for the style section and into mainstream news. And for me, it's really astounding that it's really not that long ago. I mean, women are pervasive in media today, as you see on the television and in print and on the web. But I think I never anticipated that there would be as much struggle as I have had. You know, I grew up in Ramsey, I went to a public school, it was fantastic, and I think it wasn't until that I really, and it wasn't in my 20s, which I also is something that is intriguing to me. I think in my 20s there was like, you know, there's a lot of people coming out of college and doing a lot of things, and men and women mix, and everyone's got similar types of degrees and experience. It was really once I hit my 30s when you started to advance into more of the, maybe a management role or an editor role or something else where it started to get, you could feel some resistance or I guess I'll just say some resistance and it changes a little bit. And sometimes it changes because women are going in and out to have kids, but it's more than I expected as a younger woman, I would say.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. The answer is yes. I think on several fronts, not just gender front. You know, obviously being a woman of color, and particularly in business news, we're not very prevalent, and we don't get the premier anchor spots or assignments. So the answer is yes. And in particular, when you look at the upper echelon, I think as Margaret is saying, you see it. Newsrooms are still basically run by men. I mean, even, you know, I don't want to say anything bad about Bloomberg, but even when you look at Bloomberg, the newsroom, I mean, the head of media, multimedia is a man. He's been in the business for a very long time. The 4 or 5 people that he's brought in under him are all men. I don't think there is actually one woman at the top level of management in that particular area. It is something that is talked about at Bloomberg. There are some really dynamic women there now who came in the last maybe 3 or 4 years who have come into the HR department. And I think part of it is that Bloomberg is a private company. So, and it really has been this, you know, dynamic and innovative and sort of bootstraps company where a lot of the formalities that existed in other major media companies did not exist before. So they've had some women, again, really dynamic, to come in from organizations like American Express, Goldman Sachs, and others, where they had women's